Hello and very good evening, everyone. Today we are going to talk about the first topic, and that will be about demography and family planning. See, how this whole session is included is that this is a Mission Indradhanush. I named this sessions as Mission Indradhanush because there will be 7 sessions in line. So this whole syllabus of community medicine I have divided in 7 sessions, and in these 7 sessions the motive is not to teach you something. It is basically to have a very quick review of how the MCQs would look like. See, what is happening is that many times students would listen to the videos and still they would not be able to solve the questions. Very good evening, Dr. Anil, Dr. Namrata, Yash, and Dr. Abhishek, Harshini, Varun. Very good evening. So the point I was making is that I hope I'm audible and I'm visible to everyone. If yes, then you can all give me a please thumbs up, please. So the point for making this whole series was that many times students would listen to our videos and Marrow lectures, and yet they would not be able to implement that knowledge in form of the MCQs. And that's the reason in Marrow also we have a special module on test and discussions, and we have special modules on these Delta videos which are going to update your knowledge. So very nice, and thank you Rajoshi and Mukun and Lavanya Singh. So I think you all must have gone through all the topics. So these are 7 topics, 7 days, 7 sessions, 7 Thursdays. I will be meeting with you, usually keeping the same time until and unless there's no urgency from my side, from my workplace. So let's start with the first topic of the day, and please mind it that the most important thing in understanding and in learning community medicine is not about learning new things. It's about keeping yourself updated and practicing every day. That's what is important in community medicine. If you learn the sex ratio for India, so probably you will learn about the sex ratio for India, but then you are going to forget it. So you have to practice it every day, first thing. And second is you have to keep yourself updated about the sex ratios and things like these. So these are some important things for you. And let us start with the first topic, that is demography. I would like to caution you all that don't go behind the questions that अरे यार मेरे को ये question आता नहीं है, या these are very difficult questions sir is discussing, or there might be students who might be saying that अरे यार these are very easy and simple questions that sir is discussing. So don't go behind the MCQs. These MCQs are supposed to be teasers. There will be some MCQs which are fairly damn easy, and there will be some MCQs which might be a kind of a difficult scenario for you all. So without wasting more time, let's start with the first MCQ. I will be showing you this MCQ, and I'll wait for a couple of seconds for you to answer me on the screen, and as you answer we can discuss. So anytime, you are always welcome to push in your doubts pertaining to demography and family planning today. So that's your first MCQ beta. Demographic gap is maximum in stage with, so high birth rate, high death rate, high birth rate, declining death rate, declining birth rate, high death rate, or what do you want to say? Slow birth rate, slow death rate, what do you want to say? So it's your turn now. Once you say about these, then we'll be able to answer it. So demographic gap is maximum in stages with high birth rate and a declining death rate. So I think you all are answering as per physician, Jyoti De, Anil Pant, Dr. Dishari Chatterjee, Jay Gopal Prusti, Bristi, Chakravarti, Anita. So everybody, very nice. Everybody is doing pretty nice. So there's a simple depiction of the demographic stages or the demographic phases. Beta, you need to remember there are 5 demographic stages. So you have stage 1, stage 2, 3, 4, and 5. In the stage 1, please note that please note that in stage 1, there will always be a high birth rate and a high death rate. There will always be a high birth rate and a high death rate. In stage 2, there is, please remember, a high birth rate and a declining death rate. there is a high birth rate and the death rate keeps on declining. This makes the population to increase. There is a very explosive increase in the amount of population. Coming back to stage 3, in stage 3 there is a declining birth rate and slow declining death rate. So there is still an increase in the population. But please mind it that the increase in population, I'll say again with emphasis that please mind it that the increase in population in stage 2 is more than the increase in population in stage 3. So the increase in population in stage 2 is more than in stage 3. So you need to memorize this also. Coming back to our stages, stage 4. What is stage 4? It is a very slow or a low and stable birth rate. So the birth rate keeps on declining at a very slow pace and a very slow or a low death rate. So they both keep on declining at very slow phase, and that's the reason we say that this phase is called as a stationary phase. So it is called as a low stationary. Do you know what stage is called as high stationary? The high stationary stage is the first stage. So high stationary and then low stationary, and stage 5, last stage. Coming back to our stages, stage 5. So you have a still slow or low declining birth rate and a stable death rate. Please note that in stage 5 the death rate, please note that in the stage 5 the birth rate may be lesser than the death rate, and that's the reason we say that the population is declining in this phase. So absolutely correct, Mukund. Very nice. And so we have these 5 stages, stage 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And the first stage is called as high stationary. Then you have the stage 2 that is called as early expanding. Then you have the late expanding, and then you have the low stationary, and then you have the declining stage. Last stage is the declining stage. So what are the 5 stages? Please say with me again. So let's repeat the 5 stages now. The 5 stages are high stationary, early expanding, late expanding, low stationary and declining. So these are the 5 stages. In the first stage, high birth rate, high death rate, high birth rate, declining death rate, and so on. So once you understand this, these are your 5 stages. Now let us come back to this image. You can see that in the first stage, there is a high birth rate. In the first stage, there is a high birth rate and a high death rate. In the second stage, the birth rate is still high, but the death rate is starting to decline. In the third phase, the birth rate will start declining and the death rate will again decline. In the fourth phase, they both will keep on declining, and in the last phase you can see that the death rate is almost stable over here and the birth rate will keep on declining still. So you can see that in this stage the birth rate may be lesser than the death rate. So the difference between these two lines, can you see the green line and the orange line? The difference between these two lines, this difference, it is called as the demographic gap. It is called as the demographic gap. That is what is called as demographic gap. So demographic gap is nothing but the difference between the birth rate and the death rate. Demographic gap is the difference between birth rate and death rate. So common sense question, when does demographic gap start increasing? That is what the MCQ could be. Please note that the demographic gap will start increasing in stage 2. That is what is high birth rate, but the death rate will decline. It will start decreasing in stage 2, in stage 3. It will start decreasing in stage 3 when the birth rate will also take a dip. And then when is it maximum? It is maximum when So obviously common sense, na? When the demographic gap will start increase in stage 2, and then in stage 3 it will start decreasing. So common sense, just before the stage 3 it has to be increased maximum. So the maximum is just before the stage 3, or we can say towards the end of stage 2, hai na? It is towards the end of stage 2. And when is it minimum? It is minimum towards the end of stage 5. So these are some important things you would like to remember. These are some basic stuff you would like to remember for your MCQ exam. Let's come back to the MCQs and answer it. I think many of you would have answered it nicely, but beta, I want that everybody should answer it. The main purpose of interacting over here is that I should speak and you should also speak. I cannot make this whole session, everybody should be live. Technically, it should have been offline class, but that's how we are doing it now in these days with the so many deltas and Omicron coming over. So everybody should speak, everybody should participate, because participation is more important. Once you get that habit of scratching your brain over an MCQ, I will inevitably tell you the answer. Hai na? So once you get that habit of scratching your brain to answer the MCQ, that will help you in your real exam also. That's what I want basically. So please answer the MCQs, whatever you want, whatever you think. So demographic gap is maximum in stage with high birth rate and declining death rate. This is what is corresponding to the stage 2. This is what is corresponding to the stage 2. Right? So the absolute correct answer is option number B over here, stage 2. Let us go to the next MCQ. The societal dependency ratio is. So what do you think should be the answer for this question? Dr. Zadana Zafar has a doubt over here. So I should address the doubts alongside, because that's what is the live class. So I'll just take a moment. Is the birth rate increasing or stable in stage 2? Usually it is said that the birth rate is high in stage 1. Okay, in stage 2 the birth rate remains high. It's not that it has to be dot stable, so it will increase, decrease, but in a very narrow range. So grossly speaking, we usually beta say that the birth rate is almost kind of stable. Okay, so in stage 2 the birth rate will remain same, but the death rate will decline. So that's what is stage 2. High birth rate or a stable birth rate on a higher side, and the death rate will start declining. Okay, so let's come back to this MCQ, the societal dependency ratio. So most of you are answering A. So there is a dependency ratio and there is a societal dependency ratio. What do you think? Is there a difference in that dependency ratio and societal dependency ratio? Anybody who would like to answer this? The societal dependency ratio is 0 to 14 years, more than 65. So what do you think you would like to answer over here? I'm waiting for your answers. Yeah, A option. So anybody who would like to differ with the societal dependency ratio? Anybody who would say something differently for the societal dependency ratio? Please note that the dependency ratios is made up of two components. What is a dependency ratio? Absolutely correct. You all are correct. I wanted you to make a mistake, which you did not make a mistake. Please note that the dependency ratio is number of dependents divided by the number of independents. So the dependence is taken as it has two components. It has young dependency ratio and old dependency ratio. Young dependency ratio plus old dependency ratio divided by the total independent. So what are the young dependency ratio? Young is age less than 14 years and old is age more than 65 years, and divided by 14 till 64 years age group. This is what is the dependency ratio. It has two components, the young dependency and old and the middle age dependency, old age dependency, right? So if you talk about the latest data that has been updated in your PARC 26th edition, This is the updated dependency ratio. So if you can just remember that the total dependency ratio, that is nothing but the societal dependency ratio. This is 48.74. So total in the age group 15 to 64 years, total we have 67.3%. Then you have 6.6% in old age dependencies, and then you have 26.2 in the young age dependencies. If you want, you can remember these numbers, but you should remember this number. This has been updated. The dependency ratio for India is 48.74. So Mukund Prasad has a question that in notes it is 15. What is 15? Oh, the age group. So age less than 14 years, 0 to 14 years. Beta, this is 0 to 14 years, and this is age more than 65 years. These are the dependents. And in the denominator, it is technically 15 to 64 years, because after 14, below 14 years is all a dependent population. So 15 to 64 years, it is independent population. So obviously once the 14 year is over, then you start counting the dependent population. So 0 to 14 year is 26.2 and 6.6, and 15 to 64 year is 67.3. Please note it is 15 only. So this is what is the dependency ratios, and you need to memorize these dependency ratios. 0 to 14 years and age more than 65 years is called as dependent population. So of course, what do you think is the demographic liability? Any idea? Anybody who would like to answer, what is a demographic liability? And what is a demographic bonus? Anybody who would like to answer this, what is a demographic liability or a demographic bonus? So I'm waiting for anybody who would like to answer this. There's nothing. Dr. Deepthi has a doubt that what do you think is more important determinant? Is it the dependency ratio is young or the old, right? So I'll discuss this point very soon, but what do you think is demographic liability and what do you think is demographic bonus? So I think Parag Goyal, Dr. Parag Goyal has absolutely answered it correctly. Very nice. So all other people who are watching this video, you should also participate. Increasing old age dependency ratio is liability. I forgot you covered in the main. Yes, sir. Is it same in the demographic gift and trap? Demographic bonuses decrease in dependency ratios. Liability is more independent. Bonus means more working. So absolutely correct. Anyways, I'll not go into the chat box right now. So absolutely correct. Many of you have answered it rightly. Let's just look at this a little bit more in detail. What happens is that when the high birth rate is there, so a country is there which is producing so many populations, and then the death rate in stage 2 will start declining. So if you stop the number of people from dying, so the birth rate is still high. This causes an increase in the population. Okay. Now what happens in the third phase? The third phase, there is in stage 3. So when a country is in stage 1, there is stable population, high birth rate, high death rate. Then the country moves into stage 2. In the stage 2, there is increase in population primarily because of very high fertility. Am I correct? And also because of high death rate, kind of declining death rates, but still the death rates are high, but the death rate will start declining. So there is a massively increase in population primarily which is driven by high fertilities. The driving force is high fertilities, right? So what happens in stage 3? What differently happens in stage 3 is that the birth rate will decline. So if the birth rate is going to decline, the fertilities are going to decline. So the young age dependency will decline. Are we correct? This is primarily the driving force. The driving force is a decline in the young age of dependency primarily because of a low fertility. So what happens in stage 3? The birth rate will start declining, है ना? So if the birth rate will start declining in stage 3, the fertilities will decline. That means the young age dependency will decline. Am I correct? So if the young age dependency will decline, so if you understand this, the young age dependency will decline. So the dependency ratios, because the numerator is decreasing, and you can see that what is the numerator? The solid 26.2. So out of this 48.74, the solid 26.2 proportion is going to decline. If this proportion is going to decline, this will yield a very low, like a lowering dependency ratios, and this decrease in the dependency ratios is called as the demographic bonus. What is demographic bonus? It is decline in dependency ratios. It is more in economic age group, more population in the economic age group. There is a decline in the dependency ratio. The number of people who were dependents will decline. Primarily, the driving force, the main driving force is decline in fertility. The main driving force is decline in fertility. This is what is a demographic bonus. So the country is going to have more number of the economically productive population. But evidently, common sense, if a country is going to have more number of economic population, economically working population or economically developing population, so after maybe 30 years or 40 years, obviously this whole population is going to enter into the old age group. So this whole population is going to enter into the old population. So inevitably, beta, please note that the old population is going to increase. After a bonus, there has to be a liability phase. After a bonus, there has to be a liability phase, and the liability is nothing but increase in old age dependency. Why there is an increase in old age dependency? The main driving force is decline in fertility with decline in birth rates. So, decline in death rates, not the birth rate. Fertility is nothing but the birth rate. So decline in fertility with a very massive decline in death rate. These are the main driving forces for demographic liability. So technically speaking, we don't say that the demographic dependency ratio is more because of the young or the old. But currently for India, the young dependency ratio is the main driving force. The young dependency ratio is the main driving force, but inevitably for the when we're talking of the demographic liabilities or the liability stage, in those stages more than 65 will become more important. So currently for India, the young dependency is governing the dependency ratio, but over time it could be the old population which will govern the dependency ratio. So it all depends on which stage the country is in. So many questions are being asked. Let me just have a look at the chat box right now. Demographic bonus and gift are same. Absolutely correct, beta. Demographic bonus is also called as the demographic gift. It is also called as the demographic dividend. They all are same. Okay. So Parag Goel, many questions have been asked. So what is demographic trap? Okay, so let me just first finish this topic about demographic bonus and liability. I'll talk about the trap. Sir, what about demographic burden? Burden is nothing but the liability. Demographic burden is nothing but the liability. It is increase in the old age dependency. Many students, demographic gift bonus same. Yes sir, it is same. Sir, please explain demographic. Arey beta, Namrata, just now I did about the demographic dividend. The demographic dividend is nothing but the demographic bonus, which is nothing but the demographic gift. So demographic gift or the demographic bonus or the demographic dividend, they all mean the same. Let's come back to another MCQ which was asked, another doubt which was asked by one of the students says, what do you mean by a demographic trap? Let's just have a look at this as well. What do you mean by a demographic trap? Beta, whenever I answer your queries by saying your name or without even saying your name, but whenever your queries is answered, I would suggest you, and it's good on your side also. Ethically, you should be saying a thumbs up that at least that query is solved. You don't keep on asking that query again and again, or the other students can also see in the chat box, right? So I would appreciate if you just say that yes, we've got it, and thanks Mukund for responding again. So demographic trap is one of the question. What happens is that in first stage, in stage 1, let's go back to the demographic stages. You can see that in stage 1. In the stage 1, there was a high birth rate and there was a high death rate. In the stage 2, the birth rate was typically high, but the death rate started declining. So the number of populations, the number of births which are happening, the number of fertilities which are happening in a country would be higher, but the number of people who are dying in that country would be lower. So what is going to happen is that in this country, for a momentary, for some period of years, the population is going to increase because you stop people from dying, but the people who are coming on this country to this country by live births, that is increasing. So the population is going to increase. Okay. What is the third stage that the country would be technically or theoretically targeting for? Obviously, from 2, they have to go to stage 3. What is the hallmark in stage 3? You tell me, what is the hallmark in stage 3? The hallmark in stage 3 for a country to enter into stage 3 is a decline in the birth rate. So high birth rate, high death rate, the death rate declines, the population massively increases. The hallmark of entering a third stage is a decline in the birth rate. So the birth rate will decline. But now there is a big problem. The problem is that in the stage 2, just stop and think over here. In stage 2, the population was massively increasing. So you could not decline the birth rate. How on earth are you going to decline the birth rate in stage 3? In stage 2, you had, like in stage 1, you had this much population and they increased to this much population. Now, this many people are reproducing. It is very difficult to decline the birth rate. Once the birth rate explodes, once the population explodes, it is very difficult to decline the birth rate, and that phenomena is called as a demographic trap. That means the first stage country, then the second stage, and then the third stage, and then there is stage 4, and then there is stage 5. Common sense, right? But the problem is that entering from stage 2 to stage 3, there is a big barrier. The barrier is made by massively increasing population. And this is the reason, because of this massively increasing population, the country will keep on staying in stage 2. So they are trapped in stage 2 only. It is very difficult to enter into stage 3. This phenomena of getting trapped in the stage 2 because of increasing population, you can decrease the birth rate. Because so many people are reproducing, this phenomena is called as the demographic trap. This is called as a demographic trap. It is difficulty to decline the birth rate. So मतलब स्टेज 2 से स्टेज 3 इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट. यस मुकुंद प्रसाद, बिल्कुल ठीक बोला आपने. स्टेज 2 से लेके स्टेज 3 तक जाने के लिए इट इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट. सो आई जस्ट एक्सप्लेन दैट इन इंग्लिश. हिंदी में यही मतलब बना कि स्टेज 1 में हाई बर्थ रेट हाई डेथ रेट होता है. स्टेज 2 में बर्थ रेट अभी भी हाई है, डेथ रेट जो है वो कम हो जाता है, जिस करके बहुत ज़्यादा पॉपुलेशन बढ़ जाती है. भारत देश में 1931 से लेके 1950 के आसपास तक हमने ये 70 तक हमने ये देखा कि बहुत ज़्यादा पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीज़ कर रही है. टेक्निकली एक कंट्री को स्टेज 2 से 3 में या 3 से 4 में जाने के लिए 30 to 40 ईयर्स लगते हैं. भारत देश को इसमें से 2 से निकल के थर्ड स्टेज में जाने के लिए 70-80 साल लगे. एंड इसीलिए हम बड़े हौसले से और बहुत ही ज़्यादा जश्न से मनाते हैं कि इंडिया इज़ एंटरिंग इनटू स्टेज 3 एंड करंटली इंडिया इज़ इन स्टेज 3. प्लीज़ नोट दैट इंडिया इज़ इन स्टेज 3. इंडिया इज़ इन स्टेज 3. India is in stage 3. The annual growth rate for India is roughly around 0.9. याद करने के लिए 1% याद कर लो कि हमारा जो annual growth rate है, मैं इधर को हो जाता हूँ, हमारा जो annual growth rate है वो 1% है, it is 0.9. So, okay. So please note that this is what is a demographic trap. So you have learned about the demographic trap. You have also learned about the demographic dividend, also called as the demographic bonus, also called as the demographic gift. You have also talked about the demographic liability, which is also called as the demographic burden. So let's move on, and let's take on the next MCQ probably. All of the following are criteria for an area to be defined as urban area except. So what do you think you would like to answer for this question? All of the following are criteria for an area to be defined as urban areas. What do you think? I'm waiting for your answers. बिल्कुल ठीक बोला अभिषेक. हिंदी में PSM इंटरेस्टिंग है, बिल्कुल इंटरेस्टिंग है. बहुत जल्दी हम हिंदी में भी बातें करेंगे PSM में. But this one is for majority of the population, for majority of the students who are from down south in India and from other states of India where Hindi is not so prevalent. So for everybody out here English रहेगा, but very soon हम हिंदी में भी लाएंगे. Sir, what is Dr. Avinash has a query that what is best for the country, stage 3 or stage 4? Please note that for a country, it is always the stage 4 which is the low stationary kind of thing. बहुत सारे आंसर्स इस क्वेश्चन के लिए आ गए हैं. All of the following are criteria for an area to be defined as urban area for India except. So density of more than 390 per square kilometer, density of more than 1000, more than 75% engaged in non-agriculture occupation and more than 20,000 inhabitants. So all of the following are criteria to be defined as an urban except. Parag Goyal, D answer should be 50,000 and almost everybody is answering option D over here. बहुत कुछ स्टूडेंट्स ने ऑप्शन बी बोला, बट प्लीज बट मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स आर आंसरिंग ऑप्शन डी ओवर हियर, डेल्टा. सो देख लेते हैं इसका. लेट्स हैव अ लुक एट व्हाट ऑल थिंग्स यू वुड लाइक टू रिमेंबर फॉर द कंट्री इंडिया. द कंट्री इंडिया इज डिवाइडेड इनटू 6 happy regions. We have 6 regions in our country. These 6 regions are having total 28 states with 9 union territories or 8 union territories. 9 union territories including Ladakh, which was recently put into the union territory list. So you have 28 states with 9 UTs, and total we have 743 districts in India. So you have these 6 regions with the 28 states and 9 union territories in India. Please note that whenever we are talking of our country, India, it has regions. Below regions, you have states and union territories. Below them, you all have districts. All states will have districts, except the union territories, of course, right? So in the districts, now the problem starts. There could be rural areas or there could be urban areas. Are we okay with this? There could be rural areas or there could be urban areas. In the urban areas, there is a phenomena of municipal corporations. So you have a town area committee. You have a town area committee, TAC. In some areas, they also called as a notified area committee, NAC. Then you have a municipal board or a new municipal council, and then you have a municipal corporation. So in most of your cities like Indore, like Chennai, like Hyderabad, you will have a municipal corporation. These are for bigger areas. You have the municipal corporations for the bigger areas. That's happening in the urban areas. Coming back to the rural sector. In the rural sector, from these districts under the rural head, we have taluks or the tehsils, or some people also, some states like Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, they call them as mandals. So below these tehsils and mandals, which are taken care by the tehsildar, so below these tehsils, we have the community development blocks. So please note that below these community development blocks, we have the panchayats and the villages. Right? So absolutely correct. You all had answered it rightly, but I just wanted to show you that what is the administrative setup in India. Now, if you understand this administrative setup, the next MCQ people might ask you is what all things are there at what all population. That's what is also important. So districts, these are like based on the administrative units. Then you have the villages and panchayat. Please note that the village will be roughly taken for a population of 1000. One village is roughly taken for a population of 1000. Community development block is taken for 100 villages. It is for 100 villages. 100 villages means 1 lakh population. 1 lakh population. 100 villages will mean 1 lakh population. Then you have tehsils. These tehsils are usually like it could be very much varying. So there's no single answer to it, but the tehsils could vary from 200 to 600, even up till 800 villages. So these are the villages. Wards are there, beta. Ward has been asked in the question, like what are the wards? Wards are basically, we used to have a postal system in India. So wards were primarily depending on the political system and the postal code system. So based on the area pin code, there were division of the wards. So wards are not very commonly used nowadays in the administrative component, but yes, wards are being used in the political component, and we have people standing from this ward, from this ward. So within a small area, within these are usually in the urban areas now, within the small city, they will have the smaller wards. Okay, so coming to your MCQs, please note that the tehsils is for 200, 600 villages, block is for 100 villages, and one village is for one village with 1000 population. Coming to the town area committee, usually for the town area committee, it is for 5 to, is that fine, right? Okay. Usually for the town area committee, it is for up till 5 to 10,000 population. 5 to 10,000 population. Municipal board is from 10,000 till 2 lakh population. Municipal board is for 10,000 till 2 lakh population, and municipal corporation is for more than 2 lakh population. More than 2 lakh population. So that is about the differentiation in the urban areas. Please note that when do you call an area as urban and when do you call an area as rural? Urban area is defined when there is more than 1000 population per mile, or if there is more than 5,000 population, not 50,000. That's what was the question. When there is more than 5,000 population in an area, when there is more than 1000 population per square mile, per square mile, more than 1000 population, that area is called as urban area. Plus, when do you call a rural area, or when do you call a urban area? When a rural area is when more than like 25% of the population is there in the agriculture. More than 25% population works in fields or farms. So when more than 25% population will be working in fields and farm, that area is notified as rural. Or if there is more than 1000 population per square mile, more than 5,000 population. So if you understand this, all of the following are criteria for an area to be defined as urban area. Density of more than 1000 per square mile, this is correct. More than 75% are there in the non-agriculture, common sense. If 25% and that is 75, that is also there. More than 20,000 inhabitants, this is wrong. It is more than 5,000 inhabitants in a localized area. Density of more than 390, it roughly corresponds to 1000 population per square mile. So that's approximately the same. So all three are correct. This one is the false option. Option D is the false option. So please note, when do you classify an area as rural and when do you classify an area as urban? This is what is important for your exams. Let's move on to the next MCQ. Proxy indicator for family size in the area is general fertility rate, total fertility rate, couple protection rate, Pearl's index. What do you want to answer? So it's your turn to answer now. What do you want to answer? Proxy indicator for the family size in the area is. What's your answers for these? Proxy indicator for the family size for the area is. Any Yes, Harshini, absolutely correct. You have answered it. Coming to this MCQ, Jyoti De, B option B. So, Moin Mahedi Tai, option A. Mostly are answering option B, I think, right? Proxy indicator for the family size of the area is. Please note that there are 4 things you need to study. We have done this so many times in all the videos. We have done this in revision videos. I've done this in your test and discussion videos. I've done this in your main videos. Please note that you are going to study 4 things. You have a GFR, TFR, then you have a GRR, NRR. GFR includes the number of live births divided by the females in WRA. So number of children born per reproductive age group in 2000, that is called as a general fertility rate. That is called as a general fertility rate. Then what do you mean by a total fertility rate? It is nothing but the live births by the WRA females. What do you mean by WRA? WRA stands for the women of reproductive age group. So the number of children divided by the reproductive age group with, please note that with age specific fertility rates. When you account for the age specific fertility rates, that is called as a TFR. So TFR is nothing but, please note that the concept is that TFR is nothing but an improvisation of the GFR. GFR is a general fertility rate. So the general fertility rate, the more refined version of the general fertility rate is when you account for the age specific fertility rates along with the GFR. That phenomena is called as the total fertility rate. Okay. A more refined version of the TFR is called as a GRR, that is a gross reproduction rate. That is called as a gross reproduction rate. So what is the difference between a TFR and a gross reproduction rate? It is the same formula. The concept is that in a GRR, absolutely correct Mukund Prasad, child versus the female baby. So in a gross reproduction rate, you are not taking into account the live births. You remember you were taking into account the live births. So in a NRR, in a GRR, you are taking the number of daughters divided by the WRA females with age specific fertility rates multiplied by 1000. This phenomena, this concept, this formula is called as a GRR or a gross reproduction rate. So what is the difference between a TFR and a GRR? The difference is live births and you have daughters. So that is what is the difference between a TFR and a GRR. And then you have a more improvised version of GRR, that is NRR. NRR is nothing but the number of daughters with the WRA females with age specific fertility rates and age specific death rates. Please note, it is ultra important. It is the most refined indicator. It is the most refined indicator. It is going to tell you how the country is going to grow. So absolutely correct that what is the best indicator? It is NRR, net reproduction rate. The first indicator, the general indicator, is a general fertility rate. That is what is the basic or the most basic indicator, that is general fertility rate. So please note that if you are talking of a GFR, TFR, GRR, NRR. So what is GFR? It is total number of children a female will bear during her reproductive years. So that is a general formula for a general fertility rate. It is the total number of children a female will bear during her reproductive years. What is a TFR? TFR is also the same. It is total number of children a female will bear during her reproductive years with age-specific fertility rates. So with age-specific fertility rates, that you have to account for the age-specific fertility rates. What is GRR? GRR is the total number of daughters a female will bear during her reproductive years with age-specific fertility rates. And what do you mean by a net reproduction rate? It is total number of daughters a female will bear during her entire life, assuming the current age-specific fertility rates and age-specific death rates. So many times you have this absurd kind of definition for the NRR. Please note that NRR is one of the most refined indicator. It is one of the best indicator. So now if a question is being asked that what do you think is the best indicator for a complete family size? In a family, who all will be there? It will be the number of children which are there in the family. So number of children a female will bear during her reproductive years with age-specific fertility rates. This is the best indicator for complete family size. This is the best indicator for complete family size. The best answer over here should be TFR. You should not confuse by answering NRR. So absolutely correct. NRR is the number of daughters a newborn female will bear in her reproductive years. Mukund Prasad absolutely correctly answered. So proxy indicator for a family size, there's a simple question, simple answer. The proxy indicator is a total fertility rate. It is very important that TFR is being checked in the country all the time. You should be knowing that as per the NFHS 5 data, which was released very lately in September, October 2021. As per the NFHS 5 data, the TFR of our country is 2.0 now. So the target of the TFR was supposed to be 2.1 and the country has achieved a target of TFR 2.1. Please also note that what are the targets we want to achieve? The couple protection rate. The couple protection rate in the area should be more than 60%. If the couple protection rate is more than 60%, that means that the total fertility rate should be less than 2.1. That means that the net reproduction rate should be 1. Net reproduction rate of 1. To achieve a net reproduction rate of 1, the total fertility rate of the area should be less than 2.1 and the couple protection rate should be more than 60%. Please note that. Numerically, GFR and TFR are same. No, the GFR and TFR are not the same. The general fertility rate does not account for the age-specific fertility rates. So, Dr. Mandipa Mondal, sir, NFHS 5 data kahan milega? Beta, NFHS 5 data, I have made a special video on NFHS 5 data. It is available on my YouTube channel. Today also I will be discussing some important points out of that NFHS 5 data. But all those who are in the third year, who are in the UG, or who are there in their internship and their exam is like maybe next year or next to next year. So those students should watch that video. It may be very helpful because I have discussed all the parameters of the NFHS 5 data. It's there available on this YouTube channel only. So later on you can watch that video. So please note that these are the targets. Okay. NRR is the best indicator to assess population size. Absolutely correct, Pranav. This is correct answer. NRR is the best indicator to assess the population size. That is correct. Let's move on to the next MCQ. Sex ratio for India as per NFHS 5 data is 990, 919, 1020, 840. What do you want to say? So what do you want to say? That the sex ratio for India. Mukund Prasad, NFHS 5 data is available on Marrow. Also, of course, it is available in Marrow. In the updated Delta videos that you have the NFHS 5 data. Okay. So sex ratio for India, I think many of you are answering it dot right. It's a bingo headshot question. So NFHS 5 data, if you are aspiring for your March 2022 exam or the early part of whatever exam you might have in 2022, there could be chances that you may get a question on NFHS 5. It is kind of a 3-star MCQ for you. 3-star to 5-star MCQ. NFHS 5 question can be there. So first time in the history above 1000. Yeah. So sir, when we say India TFR is age specific 15 to 49, yes. Avinash Mukherjee, it's age specifier, specific death rates would be 15 to 49 years. Coming back to this MCQ, sex ratio for India as per NFHS 5 data, 990, 919, 1020, 840. Dot on, everybody is correct, 1020. There's a simple question, like I don't have to explain this. A few more points about NFHS 5 if you have not watched the video. But even if Yash, if the NFHS 5 is not specified, then also you need to answer the latest number. You can't answer anything from your this thing. You have to answer the latest number. Okay, that's how the community medicine. That's how cruel the community medicine is. So I'm sorry to say, but that's how it is. Even if specified or not specified, how would you like answer? If I say that what is the sex ratio for India, you can answer in 1920s, 1930s. Right, so you have to answer the latest one. Okay, National Family Health Survey number 5. This National Family Health Survey, first MCQ, it was conducted in year 2019 till 2021. NFHS full form is Prague National Family Health Survey. National Family Health Survey. So 2019 till 2021. So at that time, the load of COVID-19 pandemic was on full spring in year 2020. So please note that 2020 was the year for COVID-19 pandemic, and that time the survey was done. It was conducted by the International Institute for Population Sciences, which is located in Mumbai in Maharashtra, IIPS. So under this National Family Health Survey, there had been a couple of new topics like the preschool education, access to toilets, disabilities, death registration, health or hygiene during menstruation, methods and reasons for abortions. So these are some of the newer topics which were added in this. These were some of the newer topics which were added in this NFHS 5. It is worthwhile to note that in the first time, the measurement of blood pressure and blood glucose had been expanded. The scope of anthropometric biochemical tested had been expanded to include measurement of the waist and hip circumference. So blood glucose, blood pressure measurements, biochemical testing, anthropometric measurements, they all had been included, but the HIV testing had been dropped. So HIV testing was not there. All these points could be your 3-star MCQ points in your upcoming exam. You should know this. There had been, I think we have discussed this many times in the NFHS 5 information sessions also, that there were 4 questionnaires in NFHS 5 data this time. We had the first questionnaire. These questionnaires are called as the schedules. Okay, so you have the household schedule, you have the biomarker schedule, you have a schedule for males, and you have a schedule for females. So 4 questionnaires were there. So household questionnaire, biomarker questionnaire, male questionnaire, female questionnaire, and they all were asked about the socioeconomic characteristics, health insurance, disabilities, land ownerships, use of mosquito nets, height, weight, hemoglobin in biomarker schedules. And then you had the male and the female. We asked them about the fertilities, contraception, immunization, reproductive health, and so on. So there were male questionnaires, female questionnaires. The worthwhile point for you to note is there were 4 questionnaires, 4 schedules. So these are some of the salient features you would like to remember for your exam. Coming to more important features, please note that the sex ratio in India for the first time was noted as 1020. The sex ratio in India was more than 1000. We don't know. There has been, I don't want to enter into any controversy, but this is what the data is showing. So with quotes over here, with humble quotes over here, I would like to say that this could be, this is my personal opinion, right? So the data is data. So we don't touch around the data. This is what the National Family Health Survey has given us. But my personal opinion is, could there be a bias in this data? Well, that's not a part of the MCQ, but just for some nerdy people out here who would like to listen to this, that this whole survey was done when the COVID-19 pandemic was there. So this whole survey was done on de facto system, that they had asked that who were people who were living in that household one day prior to this survey. So the male people, the male migrants, or the most of the population, 69% of India is rural population. And most of the migrants from Uttar Pradesh, from state of Bihar, from Maharashtra, for most of the people, they were out in the cities and they were stuck and they could not come back to their homes. So there could be a chance that more number of females were encountered in this survey, because the male migrants were away from their houses and they could not come back to their houses. And the survey was including only the people who were stayed in that house one night before the survey. So technically speaking, there could be an element of bias, but without going into that prejudice, the sex ratio for India under the NFHS 5 data is 1020, and the sex ratio at birth, it is 929. So these are some of the important things. Next is, you would like to appreciate that any method of contraception is 66.7%. So 66% females were using contraceptive methods. Also, it is worthwhile to note that the total fertility rate of India has dipped to 2.0, right? So these were some of the salient features you would like to remember for your NFHS 5 data, and these are some of the important numbers. So are these values same as that in census? Of course not. Census is only for demographic structure, and census data is not yet received for year 2021. The census last we have is for 2011 census. So yeah, at birth ratio is showing different. Please note that the sex ratio at birth is different and sex ratio of the total population is different. So you just need to memorize these numbers, and that is a little bit question about the NFHS 5 data. For all those students who are there available on this YouTube channel, I would recommend you to go and join, go and watch the video on NFHS 5, and there will be many more topics for you to discuss. Coming to the next MCQ, you are visiting a sub-center for annual inspection and supervision. The TFR of the area is 3. How many minimum measles vaccine should be available to the sub-center for a year? This is the last question we are going to discuss. You can shoot all your doubts over here, and anything you want to ask, you're most welcome to ask. But this is the numerical question we are going to discuss, and maybe one more important update we are going to discuss. Yeah, one more update is there. So you are visiting a sub-center. How would you solve this MCQ beta? The TFR is 3. How many measles vaccine doses should be available to the center for a year? The TFR is 3. What do you think you would like to answer? Anybody who would like to answer this? This we have discussed many times in your main videos. I have discussed this numerical almost at every platform. This is an important numerical, especially for central exams like INSET exam, which was conducted. This question had been asked so many times in the past 4 or 5 years, and this question will have the probability of being asked again and again because it already had been asked so many times. So what do you think you're going to answer for this? Anybody who would be interested to answer this? You are visiting a sub-center. So how many measles vaccines doses should be available for a year? That is what you need to answer. So whenever you are going to calculate the vaccine doses beta, how many measles vaccine or whatever you want to calculate, whenever you're being asked to do this, you have to find out the total number of beneficiaries which are there. Beneficiaries multiplied by the total number of doses for that particular vaccine, multiplied by something called as a vaccine multiplicative factor. Avinash Mukherjee, I'm proud of you. Very nice. So you've given the first answer as 330. Let's see if it is correct or not. So number of beneficiaries multiplied by number of doses multiplied by the total, multiplied by the vaccine multiplicative factor. Multiplicative factor. So in this question, we are talking about the measles vaccine. So who are the beneficiaries? We are going to talk about the live births. What is the number of doses we are going to give? The number of doses for measles vaccine is 2, right? We give at 9 months and then at 24 months. And then you have the vaccine multiplicative factor. Please note that the vaccine multiplicative factor for BCG, if they ask you, it is 2. For measles, if they ask you, it is 1.33. And for all other vaccines, it is 1.1. This is a standard you will have to remember. Usually, if the examiner is lenient, they will always give you the vaccine multiplicative numbers. But in case they don't and they are cruel to you, then you have to memorize these numbers. So wastage factor will be usually given beta. In case it is not, you can remember these numbers. You can always remember BCG as 2, measles 1.3 and all other vaccine as 1.1. Why sir I can't correlate this question? I feel info कुछ और disagree होता है, पूछते कुछ और है. So usually when you start working in the field, that time आप इसको realize करोगे कि ये question कितना important है, because जब आप administrative unit में इंचार्ज बन जाते हो तो आपको आपकी ये जिम्मेवारी बनती है. It's your responsibility that you have to ensure that vaccines are available to the population. तो वो वैक्सीन्स तो आप ही नहीं मंगानी है ना, राइट? सो इन्फो यही होती है. आई हैव जस्ट मेड इट डिफिकल्ट इन डिफरेंट टाइम्स, सो वेरी सून यू विल अंडरस्टैंड दिस. सो बेटा वैक्सीन मल्टीप्लिकेटिव फैक्टर फॉर द मीजल्स वैक्सीन इट इज 1.33. ओके, सो नाउ द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट व्हाट इज द लाइव बर्थ यू आर गोइंग टू फाइंड आउट. how much is the live birth? So live birth can be given by live birth. वहाँ पे कितने, how many live births are there? That is calculated by the crude birth rate multiplied by the population divided by 1000. Why? Because crude birth rate is per 1000. Okay. Then how do you calculate the crude birth rate? Crude birth rate is given by the formula 8 into TFR plus 1. This is called as the demographer's formula. It is called as the demographer's formula. It is called as the demographer's formula, and this is how you calculate the crude birth rate. So now I think everything is there in front of you. If you talk about the TFR, that in the question, the TFR they have given as 3. So 8 3s are 24. 24 plus 1. So answer will be 25. Crude birth rate is 25. So what is the live birth? Live birth area कितना हुआ? So live birth will be equal to crude birth rate into population divided by 1000. What is the population they have given? Can you see that they have asked about the subcenter? They have asked about the subcenter. So what is the population you're going to see? Please note that this is a general understanding that whenever they ask you about the village, the population, general notion is that you have to take as 1000. If they ask you about a subcenter, it is 5000. If they ask you about a PHC, it is 30,000. If they ask you about a CHC, which is available at a block level, it is 1 lakh. This is a general population notion that you're going to take whenever we are going to ask you about the village, subcenter, PHC or a CHC. So in this question, they have given you about the population for the subcenter. So crude birth rate is 25. 25 into population. How much is the population they have given you? 5000 divided by 1000. Answer is 125. So the live births in the area would be 125 in that particular year. So that is what is the live births. So coming back to our story, now the live births, let us substitute it. Live birth is 125. Number of doses is 2 and vaccine multiplicative factor is 1.33. So this is what you have achieved. So what is the answer now? I think it's there in front of you. 125 times 2, that is 250 times 1.33. What do you mean by 1.33? Huh? What do you mean by 1.33? 1.33 means 30% extra. 1.33 means 33% extra, है ना? So how did I do? 250. So in my brain, I just divided 250 into 3 parts. So roughly I can say that maybe we are talking of 70 or 80 extra. So 250 plus 80, that would come out to be around 330. So this is what is my final answer. Are you getting it? How did I do 1.33? Beta, this is just a small trick I'm sharing with you, that you don't start doing 250 times 1.33 and then you do this and then you do this. This will waste your time. So 1.33 means how much extra? 33% extra. So if you require 250 doses, the government of India, we are going to send you 330 doses, because we are going to give you 80 extra doses. 80 means 33% extra doses. Are you getting it? So Mukund Prasad, बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहे हो. You need to know so many things before attempting these MCQs, and that's the reason these MCQs are asked in your exam. So how many measles vaccine doses should be available to the sub-center for that year? So please note, it is 330. Mukund Prasad, 1.33 कहाँ से आया बेटा? 1.33 यहाँ से आया. The vaccine multiplicative factor. वैक्सीन मल्टीप्लिकेटिव फैक्टर क्या होता है? वैक्सीन मल्टीप्लिकेटिव फैक्टर इज वेस्टेज फैक्टर. इट इज नथिंग बट द वेस्टेज फैक्टर. कुछ वैक्सीन वेस्ट भी तो होंगी ना पीएचसी में, सब सेंटर में. इट्स नॉट इफ आई गिव यू 10 मीजल्स वैक्सीन का वायल्स, सो 10 वायल्स सारी की सारी आप यूज कर लोगे. कुछ तो खराब हो जाएंगी, कोई गिर जाएगी, कोई टूट जाएगी, कोई एक्सपायर हो जाएगी, कुछ तो होगा ना. अगर जितने बच्चे पैदा हो रहे हैं उतनी आप वैक्सीन दोगे तो इट डजंट वर्क दैट वे. आपको जितना खाना खाना है, आपके पेरेंट्स क्या उतना ही सब्जी बनाते हैं, थोड़ा तो एक्स्ट्रा बनता है ना. अगर हमारे घर में 10 फुलके पकने हैं, 10 चपाती बननी है, सो यू मेक 11 चपातीज. यू मेक दैट एक्स्ट्रा वेस्टेज फैक्टर या एक्स्ट्रा फैक्टर, राइट? सो वट एवर वी वॉन्ट टू हैव, we have that and we give something extra. That extra is called as a wastage factor. And wastage factor अगर आप याद कर सकते हो, बहुत अच्छी बात है. You should remember it. BCG 2 होता है, measles का 1.3 होता है, all other vaccines का 1.1 होता है, right? So that's a general question. So अगर same question, if the same question is asked, now the question has been twisted. This was the question which they had asked. Just look at the question. This was the same question they had asked. Now if I twist this question, I change this question that how many minimum TT vaccine will be available for antenatal care. Ab batao. Now you say, what do you want to answer? This is the last questions I told you. 10% pregnancy loss wala formula. That's it, correct? Absolutely. डॉक्टर शुभ एग्जाम्पल से लग रहा है डिनर का टाइम हो रहा है. सो एब्सोल्युटली. So how many measles TT vaccine doses? It's the same question if the TFR is 3. So you are going to do the same story, that is beneficiary multiplied by the doses multiplied by the wastage factor, right? So the wastage factor for tetanus is 1.1. Doses for tetanus, antenatal mother hai, how many doses do you give? You give 2 doses. So antenatal mother 2 doses, wastage factor is 1.1. And what are the beneficiaries in this? Please note that the beneficiaries in this case would be antenatal care female. So how do you calculate the antenatal care female? We calculate the antenatal care female by the number of live births. So number of live births, so total number of pregnant females will be equal to the live births plus 10% of live births. Why do you think this is 10% of live births? Live births plus 10% of live births. Why do you think this is 10% of live births? This is because of a pregnancy wastage factor, right? So isme same answer hai. You remember the TFR is 3. So what is the crude birth rate? Same answer. So the crude birth rate in that area would be 25. If the crude birth rate is 25, how did we get this? 8 into TFR plus 1, right? 8 into TFR plus 1. So the crude birth rate is 25. So the live birth will be 125 plus 12.5. It will be 137.5, 138, or roughly you can say it as 140. So 140. roughly we can say as 140. So absolutely correct. Okay, Avinash Mukherjee, so this is 140. 140 will be the total pregnant females. 140 plus into 2 into 1.1. So 280 plus 10% plus 30. 310, something around 310. So what is the best answer you would like to mark here? You would like to mark 310 for the TT vaccine. Are we okay with this? So I have done the summary of the story over here. This is the summary of the story. So 140 times 2 times 1.1. Okay, so this is the minimum number. Next question. Next question. It's the same looking question. Try solving this one now. You are visiting a subcenter, annual inspection, TFR of the area is 3. Same question. How many number minimum antenatal females should be registered at any given time in the subcenter register? Now you answer. It's the same question. Can you see that? With the same understanding, you have solved question number 1, then you solved question 2, and then you solve the question number 3. Sir, when they ask minimum, yes, you will consider wastage factor, Avinash Mukherjee. Yes, you will consider. Wastage factor should be considered all the times. So how many minimum antenatal should be registered? So absolutely correct. I think many of you must be getting this right. How many minimum antenatal should be registered? So the registered number should be 50% of the total expected pregnant females in a year. So at least 50%. It should be more than 50% of the total expected pregnant females in the year. So right now we had discussed in the previous MCQ that if this data is given, the total pregnant females will be 140. So there should be 70 registered. More than 70 registrations should be there. More than 70 registrations should be there. Why? Because 50% of the total expected females should be registered in a year. Anmol Bhambani, sir, how to calculate births from the crude birth rate? Crude birth rate, if it is given, we discussed it just now in the first paragraph. I think when you must not have joined, you can see that I have discussed over here the live births is given by the crude birth rate into population divided by 1000. That's for you, Anmol Bhambani. So that was your doubt. I think I tried to answer it. So coming back to this MCQ, how many minimum number of antenatal females should be registered at any given time in the subcenter? So the answer should be at least 50%. So I think the answer should be 70 over here. The answer should be 70 over here. Right? Done. Just last question for all of us to go back and have a good night's sleep and have a good dinner. I'm also feeling hungry now. Just last question, which of the following is not correct regarding evaluation of a contraceptive? So this is the last question before we call it off a day. Which of the following is not correct regarding the evaluation of a contraception? So what do you think? Pallavi Pal, then what is the answer? 140 or 170? Beta, how many number of antenatal females should be registered at any given time? It has to be more than 50%, na? At least 50% should be registered. 70 hoga na answer iska. That's what we had discussed, because pure saal mein, the total year was having 140 females. You go there at any given month, so at least 70 females should be registered at any given month. Okay. Coming to the last MCQ, which of the following is not correct regarding evaluation of contraception? What do you want to answer? A Pearl's index of 10 per 100 women years implies 2.5 accidental pregnancies. A minimum of 600 months of exposure is required for optimum interpretation of Pearl's index. Stillbirth rates and abortions are not accounted in the denominator for calculating Pearl's index. Life table analysis is better method than Pearl's index. What do you think is important over here? I'm waiting for your answers. Many of you are answering C over here. Many of you are answering C over here. So absolutely correct. Anything else? B. कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन रह गया ना, 3 टॉपिक्स थे, फैमिली प्लानिंग, कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन, स्टैटिस्टिक्स. सो कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन आ गया ना मुकुंद प्रसाद. Most of the questions from contraception will be pertaining to obs and gynae. So I'm discussing about the evaluation of contraception over here. So any doubts if you have, you're most welcome to ask. There's not a teaching lesson, beta. There's not a session for me to teach the whole contraception over here. अगर आपके कोई doubts हैं मुकुंद, so you're most welcome to ask them. That was for your reading, okay? Minimum of 600 months of exposure is required for optimum interpretation of Pearl's index. ये लग रहा है आपको option B. So many of you are answering option B or option C. I think that's what I get from here. दो चार बातें about Pearl's index. Pearl's index. So Pearl's index is given by the formula total accidental pregnancies divided by, very important, please note that, divided by the total months of exposure, total months of exposure multiplied by 1200. This is the technical formula for Pearl's index, okay? Why do we put here 1200? दो चार बातें, please note that there will be 2-3 points I want to make over here. These are some new topics, some new information for you. First MCQ, why do you say that 1200 is there? 1200 is there because 12 months are there into 100 years. 12 months into 100 years, and that's the reason we take 1200. Very simple, I think. So Pearl's index is expressed as, it is expressed as per 100 women years. Per 100 women years. And therefore, we take the multiplicative factor as 12 into 100. Okay, done till now. So please note there are some special salient features I would like you to know over here. That Pearl's index, in the Pearl's index, the numerator should include include all the pregnancies. It should include all pregnancies, whatever their outcome was. The pregnancy could lead to maybe stillbirths, it could lead to abortions, it could lead to live births. Okay, so whatever it is, the numerator will include all the pregnancies, do not exclude any pregnancy. Second point, I would like you to know that the denominator, in the denominator you take the total months, है ना? That's what you were taking, the total months of exposure, है ना? The total months of exposure. That is what the denominator was. Now in the denominator, beta, please you need to know that in the denominator we need to adjust the denominator for all the pregnant females who had abortions. So in case of any abortion in that female, so a female was using intrauterine device and she got pregnant, so I will put that female in the numerator and she got herself aborted. So if there was abortion, then there should be adjustment. There should be 4 months adjustment, subtraction is there from the total months that is there. And in case of any full term pregnancy, then there is 10 months which has to be adjusted. So let us say there were 10 females and they had their pregnancies, like 10 females, and they were being washed for 10 years. And there were 5 pregnancies. Out of 5, like 2 pregnant females, they aborted. So I have to total months of exposure minus 2 into 4. Are we getting this point? So in the denominator, please note that you will have to beta subtract the months of abortion and the months for full term pregnancy from the total months of exposure. So that's important for you to remember that in the denominator, so total months of exposure should be subtracted. In case of abortion 4 months, in case of full term 10 months. ये माइनस करने हैं. Mukunद Prasad sir, in case of doubt, way to ask, telegram group है भैया. So anytime you can ask me on the telegram group. So ये तो बात रही, this was the talks about the numerator denominator. Next important thing that you would like to remember for your exam is that in the Pearl's index, they have given you that the failure rate failure rate is, let us say, taking an example, 10 per 100 women years. So that means in 100 females, 100 women years, there were 10 accidental pregnancies. In one female, mind it, try understanding that. Please take a pause over here and understand it with your full concentration. In 100 women years, there were 10 accidental pregnancies. Let us say that the Pearls index was 10 per 100 women years. That means what? That means that beta, that in 100 women years there were 10 accidental pregnancies, or in very simple words, in 1 year there will be 10 over 100 accidental pregnancies. Or let us say that in a female, in one female there is 25 years of reproductive years, or in 25 reproductive years. Why do I take 25 reproductive years? Because that is for one female. So in one female, in 25 reproductive years, there will be 10 over 100 into 25, simple unitary method, na? So that is 2.5. That means what? If the failure rate of 10 per 100 women years, it means 2.5 accidental pregnancies in a female can occur in that area, in that contraception. Are you getting this? 10 100 women years failure rate means 2.5 accidental pregnancies in a female during her entire reproductive years using that particular contraceptive. You need to understand this. It is used for effectiveness trials. These understandings are used for effectiveness trials. So if you understand this, so a Pearls index of 10 implies 2.5 accidental pregnancies. This is correct. This is correct. So basically this 100 years is for 100 women. 100 women for 1 year, or one female for 100 years, or 10 female for 10 years. It means the same. So option A, Pearls index for 10 per 100 women years implies 2.5 accidental pregnancies. This is correct. A minimum of 600 months of exposure is required for optimum interpretation. This is also correct. This is just a number you will have to remember. Stillbirths and abortions are not accounted in the denominator. This is false. This is a false option. Life table analysis is a better method than the Pearls index to evaluate. This is always better because life table will account for every month, like how many how many accidental pregnancies occurred in that particular female. So option A, B and D are correct. Which is the not correct option? Option D is not correct. Stillbirths and abortions, these are accounted in the denominator for calculating Pearls index. So you would have to remember this, right? So with that, I would like to say thank you so much for watching this whole module on demography and family planning and some of the contraceptions. In the next session, we will talk about mother and child health care, and we might discuss one or two about contraceptives in case you have any doubt. Beta, this whole live session was primarily to make you interact with me and to make you implement your knowledge towards solving of the MCQs. That's what is integrated medicine. That's what is actually required, implementation of the knowledge to the MCQs. So Mukul Bhuria has a question, sir. Basically, if we have a question for calculating Pearls index for 50 couples, then how to do it? They won't give you a question like this for calculating 50 couples. They'll give you that 50 females were using intrauterine devices for 10 years, and that's how you're supposed to calculate. So the calculation of Pearls index is a complex formula. It's a complex numerical, and it has been included in your QBanks and your Marrow modules also. So if you would like to go and solve those questions, you are most welcome to do that. But usually in your exam, there'll be pretty simple MCQs on solving, calculating the Pearls index. So social barriers to family planning. Yeah, there are a couple of 600 a month. No, 600 months of exposure is minimum required. So either you follow 6 females for 100 years or you follow 60 females for 10 years. That's what it means. Okay. पहले से ही बिल्कुल अविनाश मुखर्जी from next time. That is what the whole concept of these sessions were. Beta, that's what I want, that you should interact with me. I should interact with you to to instigate that asking your doubts, and any doubts are there, you are most welcome to ask me on this platform. You have these 6 sessions now in your hand. You have the 6 opportunities. You ask a question, I will answer the doubt there and then if I know it, right? Mukul Bhatia, yes sir, for 50 female starts dividing it with 50. No, it has to be given. Mukul Bhuria, it has to be, they have to give you that how many females will be there and how many years of exposure. In the next session, probably I'll have a question discussion. I'll take that same marrow question. I'll discuss it for you. Okay. So we can do that in the next session. That's okay. We'll talk about this question in the next week. Next Thursday, we'll meet over. And beta, next Thursday, probably we are going to discuss about mother-child health, about questions from immunization. So these are not topics for me to discuss to you. These are topics for you to read and ask me any doubts if you have. Okay. So I'll be discussing some MCQs, and this platform is just an opportunity for you to ask me doubts that you want pertaining to that particular topic only. Okay, so that will keep the study module more structured, and will keep the study module more organized. Usually the sessions would be around 1.5 hour, like ranging from 1 hour to 1.5 hour, and so that's how it should be. So thank you so much for watching this module, and see you in the next session next Thursday, probably at the same time, and hope to see you around. Take care, and make sure that you keep all your doubts beta with you, and make sure that you all have your pen copies and your doubts ready so that you can ask them. Okay, so thank you so much and take care.